Welcome back to My Independence Report. Our mission is to help produce the best outcomes that will serve everyone, socially, politically, and environmentally. It's time to eliminate the hate, division, and fear so pervasive today. So let's create a positive change and support great people who will lead us in this quest for prosperity for all, hope, kindness, and love, regardless of sex, color, or lifestyle. Please join me as we work together to achieve our greatness and build a better nation. And welcome to the show, everybody. You know, that is a different opening because this is a different show. I did the My Independence Report way back when in 1920, and then we switched to Positive Talk, which I still do, of course. But I wanted to bring this back because it allows me the freedom to talk about certain things that I probably wouldn't talk about when we were doing Positive Talk, because we want to keep that very positive. This is more of a real show about things that people are doing and to help humanity in a positive way, yes, but also how they got to where they are and what they're doing and stuff. And we have a gentleman who's with us today. He is an author. He's got a book that just came out, and the book is One Man's Journey, the Untold Story of the Quest for Truth. And there it is right there. And Donald T. Hardison is with us. Hardison, is that right?
That's right. Thanks for having me today, Kevin.
You are a uniquely individual. Did you know that?
I think I've heard that a few times.
Yeah, and because you're doing something that not very many people have the intestinal fortitude or the desire or the burning desire to do it, because it takes a lot to do what you're doing. Explain to our audience what it is that you are actually doing.
So what I'm actually doing is I want change in this world, and I figured the best way to go out and get change is to do it yourself. So I'm out on the streets. I'm working with the homeless people. I'm working in orphanages with children, doing like little activities with them just to bring them some joy. I'm in and out of the old folks' homes, just spending time with them, talking with them. Just anybody that I can help out, I'm there to help out. Whether I'm meeting somebody in a park, or, doing, that needs, someone just to sit down and talk with them, that way they can share their day and feel like a human being. That's what I'm out doing.
How did you get started doing this?
So basically, when I was a kid, I grew up, I'm pretty much in a Christian home with Christian parents who were basically doing what I'm doing. And we would always be out on the streets feeding the homeless. It was just something that I was kind of born to do, grown up doing. And it's something that I carried a legacy out on, and I completely enjoy doing it. So,
Donald, I'm going to ask you because you are doing this and you're doing it from a I don't know whether it's a religious perspective or more of a spiritual perspective, but why is it that there are so many people that profess to have faith, but they're not doing anything to help other people that are less than or that need their help?
yeah, so that's a really good question. So, to me, it's not a religious thing at all. I don't really believe in religion. I believe in a relationship between me and God. And I think a lot of the reason why people aren't going out doing what it is that we're supposed to do, which is like, treat one another as you would want to be treated. That's the big one right there. You ask yourself, how do you want to be treated? And then you turn around and you go out and treat others in that same manner. It's like people have totally lost that. There's no morals, no values. It's like, there's a need out there. People, it doesn't matter what walk of life people come from. People want to be people, and they want to be treated like people. Most homeless people on the street, when people are walking by, they turn a deaf eye to. They don't want to see it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, or somebody's got a sign up and it's like, leave me alone, don't bother me, don't ask me for money, don't do this, get a job. I mean, and they're treated really rough, or they're treated like they don't exist. But the homeless people, they really want to be seen, they want to be heard. I mean, like they just want someone to talk to. I mean, believe it or not, I mean, they're not always out to get into your pocket. And when you sit down with these people will share their life with you. They'll share their story with you, and their stories will impact your life for the rest of your life. So, I mean, it's a blessing to be out here to do this.
I was a bus driver. It's well known now. I was a bus driver for 12 years in Seattle. So I got to meet all kinds of homeless people and people that were drug addicted and all just people that could not afford $2 for bus fare. And so it was a real unique experience for me, and up to and including the parts about I would see somebody lying down in the middle of the sidewalk in downtown Seattle, and they were not moving, and nobody checked on them. People just walked around them. A few people walked over them and just let them be. And that's not the type of humanity that I want to be part of. And I'm so glad and so thankful that there are people like you that are helping. And I think that's something that we should all be doing.
I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a part of just, common decency. I mean, there's a want inside of every one of us to do something great. And people aspire to do great things. But what we see nowadays of being great is like, well, am I going to be the president of the United States, or am I going to be a lawyer or a judge? I mean, like, yeah, those are all great jobs. But I mean, in order to do greatness, I mean, like, you have to go back to the basics. You know what I'm saying? Like, what can I do personally to make a change in this world? And for me, it's people. I mean, God has given me such a passion for people that, I mean, I love to meet new people all the time. It doesn't matter where they come from. I mean, I just love to sit, talk, open up a door for somebody. I always say one handshake, one smile, or one handshake, one hey, how you doing, and $1 million smile can change a person's day. You never know what they're going through. I mean, and that person who you might have seen laying in that road and no one has gone over to check on him. I mean, that's a sad situation. But just imagine if you were that one person to go over and say, hey, are you okay? Are you alive? I mean, that means so much to somebody, hey, that somebody took the time to actually show their, genuine compassion for my life. And that means a lot to people.
Well, and you're doing it so much to the point that you are traveling around the country, staying in hotels and B&Bs and staying in different places, and then going out into the community to talk to people, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I've been doing this for like the last 23 years now. And it's a passion. It's a lifelong passion. It's something I will probably never quit doing. I mean, because there is a need out there, and that need is so great. I mean, we can sit there and say, we can point the finger and say, hey, well, it's the government's job to do this, or it's, the local principalities' jobs to do that. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's getting us nowhere. I mean, if we want change in our life, I mean, and we want change for a better world, for a better tomorrow, for our children and our grandchildren, I mean, we need to be the ones to say, hey, today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go outside that door and I'm going to bless somebody, because there's a need. I mean, every way you look, there's a need. I mean, in that need, I mean, it's not always filled with money. You know what I'm saying? It's just that point of becoming compassionate and showing kindness and grace and mercy to a world that's lost right now. I mean, it doesn't cost anything to be this person,
There had to be somebody in your life that said, Donald, I you have a big heart, and I'm glad that you're thinking about doing this, but you really need to take care of yourself first, and that taking care of other people is. Do you ever have anybody in your life that talks to you that way?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people come at me and tell me, Donnie, you're crazy. You're crazy for doing what you're
I
doing.
didn't want to say crazy, but
hey, it's truth, right? Let's call it what it is. I mean, yeah, they've literally said you're crazy. And then I've gone to, people in the church and they're like, I think you're not necessarily hearing from God correctly, but God be with you. And then you never hear from them again. And it's like, it's like, that's fine. That's okay. I mean, because ultimately I'm going to do what I feel is right in my heart. You know what I'm saying? And in what's right in my heart is to be there for other people. I mean, life is not just about Donnie T. Hardison or Kevin McDonald. I mean, it's about the lives that we can affect through our lives. I mean, and how do we go about doing that? I mean, and it's basically, it's like I keep saying, I mean, get out there, spend time with people. I mean, like if you think about COVID, when COVID took place, and we began to bring this hatred into the world of like vaxxers and anti-vaxxers, and this separation of you can only have X amount of people in your home at a time, or don't do Thanksgiving this year together, do it online. What is all that about? You know what I'm saying? And what it did was it isolated people. And people became, very, I mean, I guess they felt all alone in this world, and when they came out of it, they didn't know how to reconnect or act towards other people. I mean, are they going to bring that COVID virus into my house? Did they get the vaccine? Did they not? I mean, and it brought fear within the world. I mean, and since COVID, I mean, like the work that I'm doing has really increased. It's like, hey, it's okay to come outside. It's okay to breathe that fresh air. I mean, like, hey, I mean, it's okay to say hello to somebody, and it's okay to like be that person that you've always desired to be. I mean, yeah, we went through like a year of lockdowns and whatnot, or 2 years of lockdown. And it's like, hey, now it's time to come out, put the past behind us. Let's join hands and let's just be a people of unity, a people who love each other, people who care enough about each other to say, hey, how's my next door neighbor doing? Or how's the widow down the street doing? I mean, it's time. I mean, we've gone too long being all alone to where we need to get out and just get back to being the people that we're supposed to be.
I couldn't agree more. And there are people. I live in a 55 plus mobile home park. There are people that live around me who I've never met. They don't leave their house,
Right?
Because they're lonely, or they're old and they feel like they don't want to get out because they're going to catch COVID or whatever it is. And those people's lives, even though they're still walking around, their lives are essentially over because they're not taking anything. They're not going out and they're not meeting people. And it is somebody like you that can really make that connection. You must feel like this is when you make that connection to somebody and they say, Donald, thank you so much. Thank you for smiling at me. Thank you for talking to me. I haven't had anybody talk to me in 3 days. I'll bet you've had that happen too, haven't you?
I've had a lot of that happen, honestly. I mean, and to me, it's like people are almost like shocked when that first hello comes out, or that first hello, how you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, were you talking to me? Yes, I am talking to you. It's just like, like, hey, and you start out with, it's a beautiful day. And then they start just to talk about this, that, and the other thing, and then next thing you know, I haven't talked to this person or that person or anybody in months. And it's so great to be able just to get this out of me, because a lot of people are like just keeping everything locked inside. And that's not a good thing, I mean, because if you lock things up long enough, you're going to blow, I mean, and it's not going to be in a positive way, so the more that people can talk and converse and share their feelings one with another, I mean, that right there is a medicine for love, I mean, and sharing is caring, I believe,
So you must have been like this your whole life. Is that kind of true?
Yeah, I mean, so like when I was younger, I worked for a lot of widows. Like I would always go over there and do their yard work and help them paint and all this other stuff. And the widows are great. They are awesome. I mean, I love them to death. They always said I was, good looking little guy and stuff like that. And they'd make me lunch and sit me down and talk with them and stuff. And I mean, I developed a passion for these women. I love these women because I learned so much from these women. And it was pretty awesome. And then my grandfather, he was in the Vietnam War, and he ended up getting gangrene, Agent Orange, all that stuff. He had to have a colostomy bag put in. He ended up dying of cancer some years back, but he was a real hardcore man. I mean, like he didn't talk to nobody. I mean, if he was talking, he was cussing somebody out. But at the same time, it was like I was the only one that was able to get through that barrier, because I was the one grandchild that would go to his house and he'd little down here, yeah, and bring him upstairs in my room, and I'd sit on his bed and we'd listen to, like, old 8 tracks and talk about his life and his ventures through the military. And I mean, everybody was just like, wow, Donnie just has a way with people. I mean, he knows how to get in, and it's the people that, like, I mean, I love meeting people who are very rough around the edges, very hardcore, and they won't seem to let you in. I mean, you just have to kind of visit these people on a consistent basis, even though they act like they don't want to be bothered, but they really do, and then once you get on the inside, you find out that, like, they're like the biggest teddy bears you're ever going to meet. They got stories for days. And I mean, you could just learn so many things from them, and I have. So
it's a defense mechanism. Because if they're mean and they put up this rough exterior, then people are not going to hurt them.
Right.
Because they're not going to let you in to hurt them, because they've been hurt many times before.
Exactly right. I mean, and that's the thing, though. So I believe that hurt people, unfortunately. I mean, it's a very true statement. But I think when like when you actually get to the point where, like, you want to deal with that hurt and you want to deal with that pain, I mean, then after you get to that point and you start working out that process, however it is you choose to work that process out, I mean, you can truly go on to help other people out. I mean, like, I've learned, because I mean, I was a hurt person at one time. I mean, I've gone through, I mean, many trials and many tribulations. I mean, the bottom in life is falling out from underneath me. I mean, a lot. It seemed like it was all like bam, 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 bam. And it's like, every time you fall down, you get picked up, only to get knocked back down. And it's just like, hey, is this ever going to end? I mean, is this storm ever going to stop? I mean, and you go through that hurt and you go through that pain, and it's just like, where do you go from there? I mean, and during those times, I mean, I feel like I'd lost my way. I mean, I was no longer happy with myself. I mean, I was depressed. I mean, I came to the point of actually taking an attempt on my life, I mean, a literal suicide, I mean, and it's just like, my father had done that, I mean, and it's just like, that was a curse. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to let that happen to me, but I came out of it, and God had given me a passion for the people. I mean, and it's like, now I'm probably one of the most happiest guys you're ever going to meet, one of the most positive guys you're ever going to meet. I mean, I'm someone to say that, hey, I know where you're at. I've been there. I've gone through that. But hey, if I can make it out of that valley, so can you. I mean, and hey, you don't have to do it alone. We're here for each other. I mean, we can learn one from another. I mean, that's what life is all about, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you for not succeeding.
Yeah. I would tell you, I mean, the only reason that I didn't succeed in that, I mean, it was a divine intervention. I mean, literally, I mean, if we can talk about it, I'll tell you exactly what happened.
It's your show, sir. You can talk about it, whatever you need.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, like, I mean, like, I was 21 years old. I mean, and like my mom, I mean, she ended up dying of a brain aneurysm, cancer. And the night before she dies, I mean, I get into a major argument with her. I mean, like, her and I are feuding. I was 21 years old. I mean, making my way to success. I mean, had my own home, car. I mean, huge bank account. But my mom's like, you're not living the life that God wanted you to live. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. I mean, but she was pretty hardcore on me. But anyways, I ended up calling her a nasty name the night before she died. She passed away. And I'm like, wow, God, like, how can you let that happen? It's kind of messed up. And then 4 years later, my father, who was madly in love with my mom, ended up, committing suicide. I mean, so it was one thing after another. So then, I'd fought through that for a very long time. And then next thing you know, I ended up going to buy an 8-ball of Coke, and I was just going to dive headfirst into it and be done with it, But the second that came, that minute that came before that, I mean, I went in because I'd already done some lines, and I was, just going to do it up. I went and did, like, I tried washing my nose out so I get a good clean sniff. And I started crying, and I cried out to Jesus, and I was just like, Jesus, Jesus, because I believe that in the name of Jesus, every demon must flee. And I had seen this demon in the mirror say, go ahead and kill yourself. Nobody cares about you. Nobody wants you. I mean, look, you're here. You're all alone. Look what you've gone through. I mean, your life is worthless. And I was like, whoa. And the minute that I cried out to Jesus, I mean, it was like he came and he held me. And then like he told me, tell me what's wrong. And I just told him that I was, like what I had been through. And he said that you were carrying a cross that you were never meant to carry. Give me that cross. And once that cross came, once you picked that cross up, I was able to move forward. I mean, and he continued to show me that, hey, I mean, the way of life, all matters of life stem from the heart. You know what I'm saying? And he gave me that passion that I had once as a child to serve people as an adult. I mean, and it's been just a blessing to be that person.
Well, and for those of you that may not be really aware, when you think from your head has, and your brain has a desire to keep you safe, and so it does things in order to keep you safe. Which means it doesn't allow you to go out and to live your passion out that your heart says that you want to do, because it wants to keep you safe, and because it's a fight or flight thing. And whereas if you live from your heart, then you're listening to another voice that isn't necessarily within you, but it comes to you from through your heart, and then it goes from the inside out. And that's the difference in how you're living your life. You're not living it from your head space, you're living it from your heart space. And that is so much more fun.
It most definitely is. I mean, and it's like we were talking about people who have problems and whatnot. I mean, all the problems you have stem from within. So I mean, to me, when God does the work, he does it from the inside out. I
Yes.
mean, like he'll rebuild you to be a brand new person. I mean, and once you become that person, I mean, and it's not like it's going to happen today or happen tomorrow. I mean, it's a process. I mean, you have to go through a lot to learn a lot. I truly believe that the trials and tribulations that we all go through, I mean, mold us into the characters that we are today. I mean,
You're exactly correct, because the experiences that we go through life, I firmly believe that we have a hand in the creation of those experiences, so that we can become the person that we choose to be.
exactly. I agree with that 100%. I mean,
And
because I mean, you take the good with the bad. I mean, you can either like I could have chose to be, like, woe's me. Now I'm an alcoholic. I'm hooked on cocaine, and yeah, I mean, so that's going to be my life, and I'm going to become an entitled person because life didn't turn out the way that I expected it to turn out. I mean, it just been, I mean, a real unfortunate soul. But that's not the case. So what I did was I took where I'd been and I learned from that. And I knew that I was bigger and I was better than that. I mean, I'm not here tooting my own horn, but I knew that I was called to do greater things. And in order to do those great things, I had to go through what I went through to be the man that I am today. If I had to go back in time and take all of that away, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take away my mother's death. I wouldn't take away my father's suicide. I wouldn't take away any of the things that I'd been through that were bad, because I mean, I really believe that those are the things that actually, called me to come out of my stupor, to come out of all, that deep, dark depression, to be the person that I was born to be. I mean, in doing so, I mean, I'm leaving a legacy behind for, of what my parents, how they had raised me. And I'm leaving a legacy behind for my children and my grandchildren as well. I mean, I want them to say, hey, I'm proud of my dad. I mean, he was great. He did all these great and wonderful things. I mean, and honestly, I mean, I do it in a very humble manner. I mean, this isn't like I'm not out for fame and I'm not out for fortune. I'm just out to bless the next person. I mean, if there's a need, I'm going to fill it one way or the other,
that is an extraordinary mission that you find yourself on. And I know that there are people that are like, you're a great guy, but you could be you could make so much more money if you did something else, or if you did this, or whatever it is. But that's not what motivates you.
No, not really. I mean, they did it one time. I mean, I went to school, I went to college. I mean, I got my degrees. I mean, like, I've had amazing jobs making amazing money, I mean, but I mean, money to me, I mean, like, I mean, they say it's the root of all evil, but I mean, like, the more you make, the more you spend, the more stress that comes with it. I mean, like, it's just, I mean, like, so you have this house, and guess what? Now I've just got a raise. Now I got a bigger house, it comes with a bigger mortgage. comes with more bills. I mean, and they're stressed right there. I mean, and then it's loss of time with family. I mean, you're here to want to spend time with your wife and with your children. I mean, you don't want to have to go plug into a job that's going to be 10 hours in the office and then 5 hours when you get home. And by that time, your day is over with and you've lost all that time with your family and friends. I mean, to me, I mean, I live a very humble life. I mean, and I'm happy with my life. I mean, I enjoy, I mean, what motivates me and drives me is being able to meet with people, to talk with people, to help people out, and to take the money that I have and to use that to bless other people. I mean, that's what motivates me. That's my drive. I mean, that's what gets me excited about life, and it's just like, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. I mean, and it's just like, it's not that hard, but I mean, it is hard because the need is so great out there and there's very few of us out here doing it, but at the same time too, I mean, there's a reward in it all. I mean, like, I can go home and I can sleep in peace at night. I can share people's stories with other people who are going through the same thing and say, hey, I just got done, working with this person over here and they've gone through this and they've gone through that. So not only am I sharing my story, but I'm sharing their story, which just adds hope upon hope upon hope upon hope. I mean, people who at one point in time who are, sitting there with their heads down, feeling depressed and sad. I mean, and they don't know where their next minute of joy is going to come from, has found that joy. I mean, and a lot of it happens through prayer. I mean, like we don't have to argue with like people believe that like there's power in prayer. I mean, there's something divine taking place. I mean, and when you start to pray with somebody, I mean, and you even allow them to lead the prayer. I mean, and they're praying from their heart, and what they're praying for is not for themselves. I mean, they could be in a terrible situation. They're praying for other people. It's like, be with my grandmother, be with my son or daughter, be with that other homeless person that I just met that has nothing, I mean, and it's just like, you're looking at these people and you're like, wait a second, you don't have anything. You don't know where your next meal is going to come from, but here you are praying for someone else. Now tell me that doesn't excite you, I mean.
Yeah, indeed. I got to ask you though, you're in Kentucky now.
Yes, sir.
And I need to know how the process works, because somebody in our audience is thinking to themselves, I really would love to do that, but I have no idea how to even begin. So you're in Kentucky now. You're planning on going to North Carolina.
Yes.
And so when you get to North Carolina and you check into either your hotel or your B&B, whichever you do, then what?
Then what? So basically, I mean, it's everyday living for me. I mean, it's a lifestyle. So I just kind of go outside. I mean, I start to meet with the neighbors and whatnot. They start to talk. I start to pick up like where people are at that have needs and whatnot, and I'll gander on in that direction. And next thing you know, I'm talking to the next person and the next person, and I'm in the middle of basically the war zone. I mean, and it's just like people are like, don't go down there, it's dangerous and blah blah blah. But it's not, though. It's really not. And then that's just pretty much how it goes. And then one thing leads to another. I hear someone else say this or that. I mean, I feel like it's a calling, or I'm being led in that direction, and I go. And everywhere I go, there's always a need. There's somebody there that I mean, even if it be one person, I mean, there's a need that needs to be met. I mean, and the question is, are you willing to meet that need? And for me, the answer is yes.
There are more and more of us like you that are saying yes. There's a young lady that I know in Pennsylvania. Her name is Kim Ling Ling. And she has an idea. She had an idea that she was going to get a polished rock, and it had the word hope on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she'll go and she'll walk around town, and it's a small town that she lives in. And but if she sees somebody who's having a very bad day and is not very happy, she'll just walk up to them and say, I thought you could use a nugget of hope today, and give them the rock, and turn around and walk away. And that is, in essence, how we. And she said there was one guy that was angry with her. It was like, what are you doing? Give me that. And you know what? I'm willing to bet he took that rock home, emptied his pockets, and with his change and stuff. And then the next day, that rock was still there. And I'm willing to bet he put it into his pocket because his heart was changed a little bit.
Oh, most definitely. I totally agree with that. I mean, and I think that's a great thing to do. I mean, once again, it's not costing a whole lot of money to go find some rocks and spell hope on it. You know what I'm saying? But what that one rock represents is the fact that somebody stopped and cared enough about me to pass this to me and give it to me for free. I mean, and that means the world to people.
It really does, and there are more and more and more people doing this. I mean, we've all gone through what I like to call our bad country music song experience.
Okay.
In my case, my dad died, my dog died, my wife left, I lost my house,
Right.
series of stuff. But that doesn't define who we are or who we can be. We can be anything we choose to be.
Right. You're right. I mean, we most definitely can. I mean, and to me, I'm shooting for the stars. I mean, it's not like I said, it's not about being, fame. It's not about the fame, and it's not about the fortune, but it's about the people. I mean, the people. I mean, like, people are beautiful people out here. I mean, and all over the world. I mean, in one act of kindness, one act of generosity. I mean, it will go a long ways. I mean, they may forget your name, but they won't forget your face. I guarantee you that. And it's just like, I mean, to know. I mean, I've gone through some situations where, like, I was up in Salem, Massachusetts, and the witch town, and I was really feeling strong about like there's one person here who needs a message of hope. And I'm walking through this town. I mean, and there's this kid. I mean, he's probably in his mid 20s, and he's sitting at a doorstop and in a stoop. And I had this care. I always carry care packages with like T-shirts and Bibles and gift cards, to feed the homeless. And now my book. But I met this kid, and he was, and I said, "Hey, buddy," I said, "How you doing today?" He said, "I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great." And he's like, "Well, not so much." And I said, "Hey, I got a care package I'd like to give to you." And he was just like, "Okay." So I give him the care package, and he sees the Bible in there, and he was just like, "I'll take everything but the Bible." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Man, why?" He's like, "Because I got my own." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Let me show you." And he pulls his book bag out, pulls his Bible out, and he's like, "I'm supposed to be doing exactly what you're doing. I'm supposed to be out spreading hope and love and joy and peace, but I am running from my calling. And I believe that God has sent you to me to light a fire underneath my butt to get me going as well." And after that conversation, and him and I went and had lunch together, I mean, a brand new kid, he's just like, "Whoa, I can't wait to get out and start doing this." I mean, and I watched him go. I mean, he was like, "Hey guys," and he's passing things out of my care package to other people. And I'm just like, I mean, just something like that, something simple, I mean, it goes a really long ways.
It is the epitome of what we're supposed to do.
It
And
definitely is. And to me, I mean, like you asked me about why people of faith don't really get out and I mean, practice what they preach. I mean, but I mean, I don't think the church itself today is actually, showing it, like taking lead and taking the people out there to do it. I mean, like they say, well, Jesus says to do this and Jesus says to do that, but go out and do it on your own. And it's like, wait a second, if we're the church, we're the body of Christ. I mean, shouldn't we all be out there doing this together? Let's go out and be the church, not go to church. So that's to me like one of my major, I guess, I don't know, things against the church today. I mean, it's not at all what it's supposed to be. I mean, if people have a need out there and people, go to the church for help, I mean, people have to wait in line, right? I mean, and they have to fill out all this paperwork, and then they take that paperwork and they sit in a board meeting deciding whether or not this person's going to get help or not. I mean, well, guess what? That person needed help 2 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't take a decision based on a group of elders to say whether yes, we're going to help you, or whether no, we're not going to help you out. I mean, to me, if there's a need, it needs to be filled right on the spot. And not to mention these people who are coming asking for help, they're already embarrassed about their situation. You know what I'm saying? They already feel ashamed over their situation. And it's hard for somebody to come out and say, "Hey, my family doesn't have food." Or if I don't have this bill paid by such and such a date, my family will be without electricity and water. I mean, like, how hard is that to actually tell people and then have to go stand before a board and tell that story over again? For me, if there's a need, I'm filling it as soon as I can. I mean, right there on the spot. I don't have to get a hold of a board and say, "Hey, what do you think about this, guys?" No, this person is obviously in dire need, and there are children involved in this situation. I mean, if not for the mother and father, let's do it for the children. I mean, it's common sense to me, I mean, and that's why I'm not a part of an organization or some type of ministry where they tell you, well, you can do this and you can't do that, because I'm willing to do all that I can to bring, you know, to fill that need for that family or that individual, no matter where they're at in life.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, by the way, we're talking with Donald T. Hardison, and he's an author. Ta-da! Guess what? He's written a book. And I would love for you to go to his website, which, or actually go to Amazon and pick up the book. One Man's Journey, The Untold Story of the Quest for Truth. How'd you write the book?
How did I write the book? That's a story. So basically, yeah. So, I mean, obviously I've lived this out my life for 47 years. Right. And everybody who had heard about my story had come to know me. They're like, Donnie, you need to write a book. When are you going to write a book? And I told them, I'm going to write a book. I'm definitely going to write a book. But it's not going to be on my timing. It's going to be when God calls me to write the book. Well, 1 week before the writing of the book, I started getting flashbacks of my life. I mean, literal flashbacks, like I was living it out. I mean, and the tears were flowing and whatnot. And I spoke to my wife and told her I was having these flashbacks. And she was just like, well, if you need anything, please let me know. I mean, and then we were in Hope Mill, South Carolina. And then I went to Lake Waccamaw. And when I got to Lake Waccamaw, I heard the Lord say, start to write your book. And everything that I'd seen, like the flashbacks, it was all right there. So I ended up writing my book in 45 days, and I ended up formatting and self-publishing within 47 days. But I mean, it's not a book that was just thrown together. It's something that I lived out, I mean, like literally, I mean, and it's a book of my trials and my tribulations and how I overcame these things, and what purpose God had given me through these things to go out and be the man that I am today.
I got to ask you this, because there are people that'll say, I pray every day and I talk to God, but God doesn't talk to us. Why would God talk to us? Who are we that the divine, however you define the divine, why would he talk to us? Because we're just insignificant little things. And I vehemently disagree with that, because I think God talks to us every day. What do you think?
He most definitely does. And that's a very good question. I mean, and the thing, I mean, and that's actually, there's a chapter in my book regarding that, actually. Yeah. So God who created us, right? I mean, he created man. And I mean, he desires to walk with his people. I mean, he desires that more than anything. I mean, to me, that's why I don't go out preaching religion. I go out preaching a relationship. I mean, God wants to walk with his people. God wants to talk with his people. I mean, he says, I stand at the door and knock. I mean, all you have to do is open up the door and let him in. I mean, he said, I'll show you great and marvelous things. I'll show you things that man has not seen. I'll tell you things that man does not know. I mean, and he's done these things. I mean, Jesus says some pretty crazy stuff in the Bible, to be honest with you. I mean, he's just like, he gives you all these promises. And then he says, see if I don't stand, tested, tried, and true. Well, it's like, wait a second, now you're daring me to see if what you have to say is real. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like, to me, when that came to my mind, I'm like, all right, hey, I've come this far. I've lost everything. What else can I lose? I might as well try it out, right? So, I mean, definitely, I mean, like, and he's opened up doors that no man can open, and he's closed doors that no man can shut. And he's taken me out, and I mean, and I've circled this country over and over and over again, and I will. It never gets old. I'll continue to do so. I meet new people all the time. And I mean, like, yes, I mean, so why do people say that God don't speak to them? I mean, I think because people really, like, they don't expect it. They've turned almost a deaf ear to it. You know what I'm saying? If they would only open up their heart and truly open up their eyes and open up their ears to hear what he's saying, they would see that he speaks to on a daily basis.
It's all a matter of perspective. And if you will listen to your heart and not listen to your head as much, great things will happen for you. Now, are they going to happen today? Maybe not even tomorrow. But what you're going to do is your whole life is going to change because of what you are doing and who you are who you are now being. You're
Exactly.
now being a loving, caring individual who understands the concept. And I'll bet you understand this, Donald, that true happiness only happens when you give happiness to somebody else.
Kevin, you probably couldn't have said it better. I mean, obviously, I totally believe that for sure. I mean, true happiness lies from within. I mean, and from within, what are you going to do with that? I mean, like you can't contain happiness to yourself. I mean, like, what are you going to sit there and smile and laugh all day, and people are like, look at this guy. I mean, like,
We're going to
really,
put you in the home.
yeah. And it's like, hey, let me share my happiness with you. Let me share my joy with you. Let me share my peace with you. I mean, and let's let's grow in hope. I mean, hope for a better day, a better tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's contagious. Once people get around me, I mean, they're like, wow. I mean, it's like, you're a contagious guy, and I'm just like, well, thanks. So are you. It's just like, let's keep moving forward.
You know what that is that because of who you are, now we are all energetic beings, and they've proven that through science that we have energy, and we operate at a vibrational level. But because of who you are, you operate at a higher vibrational level than a lot of people. So consequently, you attract people to you who say, I want some of that. I don't know if you remember a movie called Harry Met Sally. Do you remember that movie?
I do. Yes, I do.
Do you remember the scene in the cafeteria?
You might want to explain that one to me.
Harry and Sally are in the cafeteria, and they're talking about sex, and she's saying that sometimes women are able to fake it, and he said, no, I would know. And they had this discussion, and she said, so he said, prove it to me. And so she pretended like she was in the throes of ecstasy, if you will. And a lady down the row was having her order taken, and the waitress said, and what do you have today, ma'am? And she looked at I think it was Holly Hunter, who was in the throes of ecstasy, and says, I'll have what she's having. And see, that's the thing, because you were in the throes of ecstasy of being who you really are, and really other people are going, dang, I want what Donald's got. What do I have to do that?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's funny because I mean, not only do I have it, but my children have it too. I mean, and they're all like, man, I mean, people are always attracted to me. So I mean, I don't know if it's something they're born with, it's a God-given gift or what, but I mean, yeah, people are attracted to me. I mean, like no matter where I go, I mean, it's like I'm always talking to not just one person, but several people. I mean, like if my wife sends me out on a grocery run, I might be gone 2-3 hours. It's not because I'm shopping. You know what I'm saying? It's just like people start talking, and she's just like, "Did the ice cream melt?" I don't know. I have to find out later. But I mean,
now I got to ask you, Donald. Your wife must be a saint, because it's like, where have you been for the last 3 days? Oh, I went to North Carolina for a little while, and I wanted to do she must be an incredible woman.
She most definitely is. I mean, she's right there along with me. I mean, so it's like
she goes with you.
We travel together. I mean, so we're like a team, I mean, and she's got her ways of being compassionate. She enjoys cooking. So I mean, like if we see like a camp of homeless people, I mean, we'll run to the store and buy like, I don't know, 12 loaves of bread, and we're making sandwiches and putting together chip bags, and we're running them out to them. Just here you go, bam, 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 lunch. I mean, she's great. I mean, and she's really great with people. I mean, she's very kind, she's very compassionate. She's real quiet though, but I mean, if you get her in the right situation, I mean, she's got a story to share. I mean, and she's the one, hugging out, handing out hugs, and it's gonna be all right. I mean, and the women are holding her, and they're crying, and she's just, it's going to be all right, hon. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it's cool. Well, they say two are better than one. So,
and the cool thing is that there are women who have been hurt by men in their life that will respond to another woman when they may not respond to another man. So that's really good that support is there.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, it definitely comes in handy. I mean, there was a situation when I was in Albany, and we had come to, like, work with this couple, and they were homeless and whatnot. And in Albany, they don't have like homeless shelters for women, just for men. I mean, and that's a big problem. And I mean, I tried to raise a lot of stink about that while I was up there, but I mean, still no go though. So I mean, so the men have a place to go, but the women don't. But this couple, so like the husband didn't want to stay without the wife, and so they would stay underneath the bridge. But the husband was an alcoholic, and I happened to just be driving down the street one day, and I hear a, I'm like, whoa, I hit the brakes, and like I hear a lady screaming. What do you know? It was these two. And my wife was in the car, and she was just like, oh my God. And so we jumped out the car, and I was like, went and talked to the guy, like, yo, you might have had one too many beers, and this ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? It's really not. I'm talking to you every single day. I'm praying with you. I'm praying with your wife. I mean, like, this is completely uncalled for. Well, in the meantime, when that's going on, my wife is counseling this girl, this woman. I mean, it's the dead of winter. I mean, she didn't have anywhere really to sleep, and we had an extra sleeping bag in the car. So I pulled out the sleeping bag, gave it to her, asked her if we could take her anywhere. I mean, she didn't have anywhere to go, but she didn't want to leave her husband too far. So she basically took the sleeping bag, went across the street, got some sleep, and I guess joined up with him when he sobered up. But I mean, with my wife being there, she was able to bring, some type of, a person to actually talk to, to hold, to wipe the tears away from her eyes, and to try to, bring some type of strong counsel to her. So,
Donald, you bring up an interesting. First of all, that is a really, really incredible story. And is that in the book?
No, that's not in the book. I mean,
that's going to be in the second book then.
Okay.
Because that is an incredible story. But what the basis of that story is, and I find this hard to believe, that there is a place in this country where there's a homeless shelter for men, but there's no homeless shelter for women. I find that unconscionable.
I can tell you this much: it's heartbreaking, because the amount of homeless people in the city of Albany, New York, it's insane. I mean, so all the men have a place to go. They have a warm bed. They get their breakfast, their lunch, their dinner. I mean, but women, I mean, and the women can come and they can eat there too, but they just can't stay there overnight. And it's like, what about the women and children who are on the streets? I actually know this older woman who is homeless, and she's in Albany. She's in her 70s. Her husband actually died during 9/11 when the buildings were coming down. Her husband died, and then her son died later from all the smoke inhalation. And she found herself homeless. She was in New York City, and she moved to Albany. She would not. I mean, like she had nowhere to go. She was sleeping at the bus stops. I mean, so every single day, in the winter, I mean, I'm there with her every single day, sitting with her throughout the night so she can sleep, bringing her food, I mean, doing anything that I can. Next thing you know, I'm like, man, somebody has to go out there and be a voice. So I'm going downtown, and I'm hitting up all these little, like, I guess you could say, other different types of missions, and saying, why is there not a place for these women? I mean, let's move the men out and put the women in. I mean, because I think the women need to be safeguarded. I mean, let's face it, the streets can be very dangerous.
Yes, they can be.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, rape happens all the time. I mean, there's a lot of drug addicts out there. I mean, it's a mixed world, you know what I'm saying? But to place these innocent women who basically have no place to go and basically no fault of their own, to leave them to fend for themselves out on the streets. I mean, like, what's wrong with society today? I mean, where's the heart? Where's the compassion? Or you find women and 3 children living inside of a box. I mean, like, I've seen that, I mean, and literally, I mean, this is why it's hard. It's because it's heartbreaking. I mean, it will bring tears to your eyes, and it's just like these poor innocent children, this mother, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like who's there to help them? I mean, and thank you, God, for putting me in this place at that time, to be a person who can take them into a Waffle House or somewhere close to get them warm and to get them food, but I mean, at the end of the day, or get them a hotel room. But when that's over with, where do they go from there?
In the United States of America, we have women and children living in a cardboard box.
Yes, sir.
I was a bus driver for 12 years. I've seen some horrific things. I've seen some people that live homeless in there, and it's a dangerous place out there. And we as a society have the ability to make changes and to change all of that. But in order for us to get that done, we are going to have to work together. And it's got to be a mission that this show is working to address, which is get rid of the hate, division, and fear. Let's take care of each other. Let's love each other. I don't care who you love. I don't care what you look like. I don't care any of that stuff. You're a human being, and we all need to take care of each other. And if we don't do that, we are going to suffer for it in the end. And it's not. And so, all I can tell you, Donald, is thank you for who you are and for highlighting. And the reason your book is important and the books that you're going to write in the future are important is that there is something in all of us that needs to, as Neil Donald Walsh says, who wrote Conversations with God, he says, you need to wake up.
Exactly.
God says, wake up. Take care of your brothers, take care of your sisters, do what you can, do what you must to make everybody, to make all of us thrive.
Exactly.
And we have the ability to do it.
We do. I mean, we most definitely do. I mean, we live in one of the richest countries in the world. You know, I mean, the United States of America. I mean, and our dollar's worth everything. So, I mean, there's no reason to have this homeless situation going on out there. There's no reason for it at all. There's no reason to see, you know, these hundreds of thousands of people go without food or go without a roof over their head. I mean, I grew up to believe that I mean, it's not too much to ask that a man or woman have a nice warm bed, a nice hot meal, and a roof over their head to sleep in. I mean, if all these other countries, I mean, their homeless population is almost like 1%. I mean, it's very small compared to what it is in the United States. If they can do it, why can't we? I mean, when will we actually start to make a change? Say, hey, these people are human beings and they deserve a better life. I mean, and even if they can't, for whatever reason, provide one for themselves, we as a whole, we as a people, an individual people, can come together and make that happen for so many others.
Between homeless people, people that have mental difficulties that we are not taking care of, it needs to stop. It needs to end. And we can do it. But there's a segment of our population, and I would like you to address this specifically. There's a segment of our population that says, oh, you know, they did it to themselves. If they really wanted to get out of that situation, they could. So if by helping them, all we are doing is enabling them to continue doing what they're doing. So we're not going to help them. Would you address that, please?
Yeah, most definitely will. I mean, I hear that a lot. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that have that mentality. They believe that, you know what I'm saying? But I can tell you, and I tell them, hey, you haven't walked a mile in their shoes. You don't know where they've been. You don't know what type of situations brought them to that point. You know, I mean, like somebody who like a child who had grown up being raped or something like that can cause that downfall. Sexual abuse can cause that downfall. Physical abuse from a mother and parent can cause that downfall. I mean, we don't know what that story is. You know what I'm saying? So who are we to actually judge why these people are where they're at? You know what I'm saying? And most people do get addicted when they've been hurt and pain and suffering. I mean, they're doing anything they can to numb that pain.
Yep.
You know, and in order to get that hurt and pain out, we need to get to the root of the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to get into their hearts and say, hey, there's somebody that cares. You know, and I'm not going to rat on you. I'm not going to say, oh, you just did meth yesterday. Let me call the cops. No, that's not it. I mean, that's not what they need. They need someone to hold their hand and truly be a friend, truly be a brother to them, truly be a sister to them, and just basically be their family, because family isn't always blood. You know what I'm saying? Just knowing that someone cares enough to spend that time and to say that, hey, I don't care how long this takes. If it takes the next 20 years, I'm not going to leave your side. And hey, even if you come out of this and fall back in that, I'm still going to be there to hold your hand, to continue to pull you out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because we all have relapses at moments. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sometimes our best judgment isn't always at play. You know, but I mean, when you can stop and say, hey, I know where you're at and I know where you can go and I see where you were going, but you fell back, That's all right. I'm going to pick you back up and keep you going forward again. I mean, people need to stop quitting on people. I mean, it's people become so, like, I guess, rigid to where it's like, if you offend me, I'm done with you, or you see all this drama on social media. This person said this, and let it go. Let that go and just be the people that God intended us to be, people who love one another. I mean, people who know how to forgive each other, you know what I'm saying? And just be that bigger person, and say, hey, I am really sorry about, this situation. I feel like you've offended me, but that's okay. I forgive you. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to cut you off. That doesn't mean that I'm going to end this relationship with you, because, hey, this journey has only begun. And the further you walk with a person, the better off that person's going to become. I mean, I believe that wholeheartedly.
I mean, it really is true, but it takes time, because there are people who their only experience is being hurt by another human being.
Yep.
And it's happened repeatedly from the time they were children to growing up to young adulthood, and it continues to happen. So it takes time to develop the trust that you're not going to be just another person who hurts them.
Exactly right. Now, I think the key ingredient to that is consistency. I mean, we don't talk about
Yep.
being consistent in these days. I mean, being consistent one with another. I mean, it's like, I mean, my mom, she had raised me to be a man of integrity, which, in our house was, you say what you mean what you say, and do what you say you're going to do. That takes consistency. I mean, to be that person who says, hey, if I said this, I meant it, and I'm going to do it. Just like being a friend, like, hey, I'm your friend in the good times and in the bad times. I mean, and we have to understand that even in our own lives, life's a roller coaster. It's up one minute, it's down the next. And do you want a person to leave you when you're down? Obviously not. I mean, your truest friends will be there at the bottom of that, that slope to say, hey, I've seen you slide, and I'm here to pick you back up, and we're going back up that mountain one way or the other.
And you're again, you're a very smart man, because integrity, I've come to understand, since I'm a little older than you, not a lot, but a little.
Just a little.
I've come to understand that integrity is a buzzword these days. And
Buzzword.
what I mean by that is, oh yes, I live in integrity. I have the utmost integrity of until their integrity is being tested, because they're asked to believe something that is just inherently false and not true, and they believe it anyway, and they compromise their own integrity in the process.
That's right. I mean, but that's not integrity, though. I mean, if you're willing to be a sheep and be led to the slaughter, I mean, that's not integrity. I mean,
No.
being a man of integrity is standing up for what you believe in. I mean, and nobody can sway you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe what I'm doing is the right thing, and nobody's going to sway me from it. How much money have you lost, Donnie? Have you made any money from this? It's not about the money. You know what I'm saying? It's about being that person who's willing to step out of his comfort zone each and every single day and say, hey, I'm here for you. And it's not about the money, and it's not about a payback. This ain't a pay it forward program. I mean, this is like life, and this is something that we all need to be doing. We shouldn't have to be teaching this. We shouldn't have to be talking about this. I mean, I think when you and I both grew up, Kevin, I mean, I think that we came out of that era where people were doing this, you know what I'm saying? And, and it's so far forgotten now. It has to be taught. And it's like, it's like human compassion 101, listen to the guys of the old school. But it's just like, why do we have to be old school? I mean, why can't this be a part of everyday living, and it starts in the home. It starts with the way you raise your children. You know what I'm saying? Because we're raising tomorrow's leaders. I mean, and how do you want them to lead?
It's a complete generational thing.
It is.
And it goes from generation to generation, both good and bad. And so you can have a 7-generational dysfunctional family, and it goes, grandpa was, and then dad was, and then I was, and then my dad was, it just continues on. Donald, I could talk to you for hours. As a matter of fact, I get to talk to you again next Wednesday.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
On Positive Talk Radio. And
yes, sir.
Donald Hardison has been our guest. and go to his go to Amazon and get his book, which again is called One Man's Journey: The Untold Story of the Quest for Truth. And it's also going to be followed by its companion book, which is going to be called, I don't know yet, but we'll find out what that's going to be. And you are so talented. You need to write to get people to understand.
It's the second book will be called A Break in the Silence.
See, you've already thought of it. There you go.
It's coming.
There you go. And I want to thank you again for being here. Is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
To me, I mean, I would basically just tell the people, like, hey, don't give up. I mean, if you're struggling, you're going through hard times. I mean, your life matters. Your story matters. I mean, and people need to hear your story. I mean, what it is you have gone through will go on to affect other people's lives in a very positive way. I mean, once you tell your story, I know it's hard to do, but once you do, I mean, you will be glad you told it, and you will see that it begins to change other people's lives.
And it will change your own life too.
And my own life too, and yours, Kevin.
Exactly. Donald, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us on My Independent Report. Please like and subscribe. And more importantly, tell everyone you know that a new show is in town, and we mean to make the world a better place. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.